I'll save you the time on this one. There's a whole bunch of clarifications, minor updates, things like that, but the only actual change this month is Ares Expedition. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is Where Are They Now?, my look-back series of taking a look at the reviews I did last June, in this case, and seeing what changed, what updated, what have I not bothered playing, just going over all of that stuff. Now, what I mean by changes and updates and all that kind of thing is the fact that since a year ago, I don't know exactly when it changed, but at some point I started doing a 0.5 scoring system. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I did 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, also the 2s, so like 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, etc. Basically, adding more nuance to my reviews. That means that as I go back a year ago, I sometimes have to mentally juggle where do I think a game would have landed if it was a 3. Was it a 3, or 2.5, or 3.5? It could have been any of those things, and so that's the what I mean as far as clarifications and updates. As usual, I'll be dividing this into 3 sections. The games I have not played yet, which is most of this list. Most of this list, not played yet, not played since, which is most of this list, meaning most of the reviews I did back in June were for prototypes. Almost everything I did in June of last year was prototypes, and while I have certainly shifted over time to doing more and more retail coverage, at the time I was heavily into the Kickstarter conversation, and there were a handful of games that I reviewed that were not prototypes, which means most of what I reviewed I haven't played since. From there, we'll go into the games that haven't changed at all, in which case the games I've played, I've continued to play them, but my opinion has stayed the same. There's only 4 of those, and then there's one that has changed at the very, very, very end, which is Ares Expedition over here. So with that, and timestamps down below, check out any section you want, but starting off the bat with Force of Radgost. Force of Radgost, I gave that one a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed the discovery elements of the game, while thinking that mechanically it just didn't intrigue me that much. Good story, good little sequence of whatever, but just not mechanically intriguing. Force of Radgost I gave a 3 out of 5. That rating would hold in theory, but I mean all these hold, unless I give you a clarification that the 3 really would have been a 3.5. I'll explain it more when we get to the first one. In fact, I separated this list in all the ones that straight up haven't changed versus the ones that haven't changed but clarification. From there we have My Singing Monsters. My Singing Monsters I gave a 2 out of 5. I did not find My Singing Monsters to be overly compelling. It has merit as a kids game. It's a fun, enjoyable experience. It's not one that I enjoyed playing. Kids games comes in all varieties for me, and I didn't find My Singing Monsters to be compelling enough to continue to dive into it, even if I still had the copy or whatnot. Kingdom Builder. Kingdom Builder is going to be the next one, which is actually not a prototype, but still one that I haven't played because I got rid of it. I did a compare this, a play this, not that, between Kingdom Builder and Winter Kingdom, and both of them I really enjoyed, and Winter Kingdom, well, we'll talk about Winter Kingdom soon. Winter Kingdom did win the comparison, but Kingdom Builder I gave a 4 out of 5, and it's one that I really enjoyed, but also that I was ready to move on from it because I thought Winter Kingdom did it better. There actually should probably be a slight update on this one, which is I may or may not have backed the most recent Queen Games Kickstarter to get the newest big box Winter Kingdom Builder back. Probably shouldn't have, but I had second thoughts about it. But Kingdom Builder I haven't played since I did that review, and I've only been playing Winter Kingdom since that review, and Kingdom Builder has been a 4. It's been a 4 for a very long time. When I first played Kingdom Builder, I really loved it. Probably gave it, like, when I first played it, before I reviewed it, I probably would have given it a 4.5, possibly. I don't think I would have given it a 5, but I don't think so. But I really like Kingdom Builder. I've just played it so much that by the time I finally reviewed it and compared it to Winter Kingdom, it's been a 4, and I haven't played it since. Then we have Keystone North America. Another prototype. Keystone North America is going to be a puzzly game. Think Canvas, think Calico, Cascadia, any of these games where there's a little bit of a puzzle scoring mechanism. I thought Keystone North America did a very solid job in terms of the implementation of that scoring system. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the art, enjoyed the theme, enjoyed the gameplay, the puzzle, trying to make everything work. I know they've also made updates to the Kickstarter, to the game, since the Kickstarter itself. Gave that one a 4 out of 5, and really looking forward to that one arriving. Then we have Ruthless. Now, Ruthless actually has arrived. Ruthless is actually even in shrink. I really enjoyed Ruthless. Really, really enjoyed this one. This one caught me completely by surprise. Now, specifically with the expansion. I played primarily with the expansion, and I don't think my opinion would be as strong if I was just reviewing the base game. I think the base game would likely be a 3.5, but I can't say for sure. I'm just kind of guessing because my plays were with the expansion. But with the expansion, an easy 4, possibly even one that goes up. It's the kind of game where I can see it going up. I really enjoyed it. I got it a few weeks ago. I should probably de-shrink it and get ready to table this one. I really, really enjoyed it. Thought it's a solid game. Plays well at 2 and 3 players. Really enjoyable. But Ruthless was a 4. I just haven't played it since it only finally just arrived. Then we have Theurgy. I think it's pronounced Theurgy, maybe, we'll see. Theurgy is an area control game with a high degree of control and just a lot of fun things going on, and a lot of fun things. Lots of powers, lots of abilities, lots of monsters, and lots of manipulation as you try to choose which action to take every single turn, each action building your tableau and making yourself stronger in different ways. I really like Theurgy a lot. My biggest critique is I felt some elements of the game weren't as smooth or streamlined. To me, Theurgy is the kind of game that I think could be a stronger game if it went through like a proper development cycle with like a developer to iterate, to smooth, to streamline the rule set and all that. I like it. I do. It has some rough edges, so I'm a little uncertain how it holds up over time, but it's one that I definitely want to get my hands on. Theurgy is a 4 to 5 for me. I'm very much looking forward to that one. Then we have Valor and Villainy, Lludwiks Labyrinth. I only got one play of this one. Was it 2 plays? I can't remember if I played it a second time. I didn't play Valor and Villainy Lludwiks Labyrinth much. I called this one a first impressions because it very much was a first impressions, but I had played the original Valor and Villainy, and I had played Lludwiks Labyrinth, which felt very different while maintaining the same DNA. I am very much looking forward to continuing to dive into Lludwiks Labyrinth. I thought Lludwiks Labyrinth took the core gameplay of Valor and Villainy, but made it cooperative, which made it, you can also play it you also play it 1 versus many, but I prefer cooperative, and I think that I know that I'm looking forward to that one more. I actually got rid of Valor and Villainy, the original one, because Lludwiks Labyrinth, I think, will fill that spot better for myself. Then we have Velocity Vanguard, which I gave a 4 to 5. Velocity Vanguard is a fascinating one. Movement through space, trying to manage your drift, your flow, lots of fun things going on in it. I really liked Velocity Vanguard. Really, 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 really like Velocity Vanguard. My biggest concern with this one, and this is what I don't know what happens over time. I have a pledge coming. I don't know what happens to it over time. My biggest concern is the table space is intimidating. This is not a small game to set up. This is a beast of a game to set up and tabled. I wonder if the solo stuff will be enough for me to keep me going, to keep me coming. I really, really enjoyed the core movement mechanism and the amount of stuff they wrapped into the game. I'm torn. There are some games that are just amazing. Like, this is an interesting balance of games in general, where some games are just simple, elegant, pure, clean, whatever, and you can play them and it's easy. Other games have a lot going on, but sometimes they're worthless and sometimes they're not. Gloomhaven has like a 50-page rulebook, but once you get in the flow, once you get in the swing, if you're playing it enough, it's very easy to actually keep that movement going. Sometimes there are so many games, it's harder to focus on them as much as I'd like to. I don't know what happens to Velocity Vanguard. I hope it sticks around. I thought it was very clever, very unique, feels very different. I just don't know. At the end of the day, I'm always playing new games, always cycling things in. I hope it manages to survive. I thought it was very, very clever. From there, we'll move into the continued games that haven't played since then. Again, these are all mostly prototypes. Most of these games I have not had a chance to play. I think the only one that was not a prototype would be Kingdom Builder, and that one I got rid of it, so yeah, there's that. The rest of these are another 6 prototypes where I am giving small little pivotal shifts from a solid number, a 3 or 4, in fact in one case from a 5, to a shift. Okay, so let's go through these, and again, the shift doesn't mean that my opinion changed. The shift means trying to think of it retroactively, trying to think through my scoring system now and how I would have applied it back then. Would it have been a 4 or would it have been a 3.5? And that's starting off the bat, we're going to start with Platformer. Platformer from Awakened Realms Light. That's one that I gave a 4, and I think it would be a 3.5. A 3.5 for me, the distinguishing is always in my ratings down below, you can check that out. But a 3.5 is usually a game that I really like it, and there are elements that if I didn't play it again, I would strongly miss it, but it doesn't quite hit that 4. Platform was a good example of a game that I felt deserved more than a 3. I really enjoyed the simple puzzle and the engaging fun of trying to jump around these platforms. You're simulating a video game kind of as you wander up, as you level up, as you gather gear. Really enjoyed that one, but I think it would be a 3.5 for me. I think it is a 3.5 in terms of the rating scale of where it is. Definitely better than a 3. I like it a lot. I do. But also I don't know if it quite hits the 4, although time will tell, but I think it would be a 3.5 at least as of right now. From there we have Soundbox. Soundbox is the reverse direction. I gave Soundbox a 3, but again, I think that would bump to a 3.5. Soundbox is a party game in which you have multiple people talking at once or making noises at once to try to give you these noises so you can get to the next step. A very interesting puzzle, very party adjacent, not party adjacent, straight up party game. For me, the biggest problem is it's one that, practically speaking, I know won't get tabled. Soundbox is a game I did not back, will not get my hands in it, it won't hit the table. I really enjoyed it, but it's also a party game that relies heavily on just loud amounts of noise, which kind of makes it obnoxious for a lot of people in my life who don't like large amounts of noise, because a party's already enough noise. So it's a really fun game. I had a lot of fun playing it. Also, I don't think it'll get tabled that much. Then we have Arackhan Wars, another game that was a 3 that would move to a 3.5. Arackhan Wars is a head-to-head card game, that's the word you're looking for. You can have your factions, your decks, you're tactically to build things out and trying to tactically place and move and use the abilities of the various cards. Very interesting puzzle. Very well done. It's one that, practically speaking, I don't feel the need for. I may have a pledge coming. I don't remember if they gave me a pledge or not, but I just don't feel the need for it on a personal level. It's the kind of game, and I have a full video I put out like 2 years ago on this. I just don't play that style of game. 2-player head-to-head games which rely heavily on knowing the decks, knowing the cards. When I want that, I play Hearthstone. I don't play that kind of stuff as much in, a real, tangible game. I thought it was very well done. I had a lot of fun with it, but not a game I feel the need to own. From there we have 6 Siege. 6 Siege I gave a 4, and that would bump to a 4.5. 6 Siege was amazing. 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 I had a few nitpicks around the rules, which is why I wasn't a 5. A few nitpicks around some elements of the rules, that felt clunky and just didn't feel smooth. Now, obviously, prototype, these ratings, half of these things, again, with the exception of Kingdom Builder, everything here is a prototype. But 6 Siege, I really enjoyed. It is possibly, I think it has a solid chance of being my favorite game from Mythic Games to date. I really enjoyed it. It was tactical, it was brutal, it was well done, it was clever, strategic. I can't stop saying enough nice things about 6 Siege. I just had some complaints around the concept of Overwatch, the second floors. There were some elements that I thought were a little bit much without adding enough value to justify them, but overall I really liked it. That would easily be bumped to a 4.5 with that rating scale. Mosaic, on the other hand, is one that goes down a notch because of that. Mosaic was a 5 out of 5. It's one that I gave a 5 out of 5, and there are some 5 out of 5s that I stand by them. Last month when I did this Where Are They Now, I talked about The Witcher Old World, and I talked about how excited I am. Even now, like, it's still just as present in my mind, and I want to dive back into it with a fire. Now, make no mistake, Mosaic I also want to dive back into. In fact, at Gen Con, I'll be playing Mosaic specifically. They reached out, they're like, hey, we're doing Mosaic playthroughs, anyone want to join? And I was like, pick me, I would love to play Mosaic because I really enjoyed my plays of it, and so Mosaic is one that I'll be diving back into shortly. In fact, if I waited another month, I'd be able to do this, or a month and a half, 2 months, some reasonable amount of time, whatever it is, I'd be able to do this video and tell you I'd played it again, but I haven't yet. I will be shortly. But Mosaic overall, as much as I do like it, as much as I think it's an amazing game, I think it would drop back down to, down to a 4.5 in that rating scale, if only because of the fact that, while I really like Mosaic, it is the kind of game that would get a bit repetitive. It has a Terraforming Mars, like I consider Mosaic Terraforming Mars light. Very different game, very different. You might like one, not the other, totally possible. But in terms of the tableau building and the choices you're making every single round and what you're trying to do to build up your influence, to build up your power, to build up your engine, all those things, I think it has enough overlap. But I think Mosaic lacks some of the nuance of the cards that you might find in Terraforming Mars. So I think Mosaic just wouldn't have as much long-term life to it over time. Time will tell on that one. We'll see. At the end of the day, I only had it for like a few weeks before I could cover it, and so there is a limit to my experience with it, but I think Mosaic would drop to a 4.5 at least for right now. Again, not really a change in rating, just a change in rating scale. And then lastly, Buru. Buru is one that I gave a 4, and again, like a platformer before it, I think it was a game that I enjoyed it enough that it's definitely more than a 3, as a solid little puzzle of trying to outthink your opponents as you place things down, trying to take the benefit of the various spots, trying to have the highest influence in an area so you can get the cards, you can rotate, you can turn this resource into that, you can get all these benefits, you can gather the fish you need, a ton of little fun things going on in Buru as you make these sacrifices and offerings to the gods, all good things, but overall it'll be a 3.5 for me, not a 4 in terms of once I'm shifting down, I think it would go to a 3.5 and not a 4, and that's all the games that I reviewed last June, a whole lot of prototypes that I have not played since, and there are the ratings. I still have a few more to go, though. We're not done yet. That's just the vast majority of this list. So again, like I said in the beginning, a whole lot of clarifications, but not really changes to my ratings, as it were. From there, let's move into the games where there's no change to the ratings. Now, these are games that, again, there's one that actually has a small adjustment change, but past that, these are games where my opinion has not changed. It's stayed pretty consistent since I covered this a year ago. Winter Kingdom. Winter Kingdom I've played multiple times since I covered a year ago. I gave it a 4 at the time, and I still give it a 4. Yes, Kingdom Builder was a 4, but Winter Kingdom to me did some things better. Although I've missed Kingdom Builder. When Queen Games had that big Kickstarter for the Kingdom Builder big box, I wanted it. I wanted all the stuff. I wanted my Kingdom Builder back. I think Winter Kingdom is a better game, but I think Kingdom Builder is easier to introduce people to. There's a little less barrier to entry in that sense. So both are solid. I think there's actually room for both in my collection, which is not what I had planned, but is what apparently is happening. Then we have Cat Lady. Cat Lady I give a 3, and Cat Lady is bumped to a 3.5. Not a change in the rating, change in the rating scale, but Cat Lady, I really enjoy it. Cat Lady and Dog Lover. I guess we'll probably talk about Dog Lover next month, I think, or 2 months from now, whenever we do these. But Cat Lady from AEG, I really enjoy it. It's not the kind of game I would think I'd enjoy. Even just the name alone makes me think it's a game that I would not enjoy. But at the end of the day, I think Cat Lady is a lot of fun. You're trying to gather cards, it's just set collection. That's all it is. The whole game is set collection, but it's fast paced, it's rewarding, it gives you enough of a puzzle, it's quick, simple fun. It's not a game that I would personally keep for my own collection on its own, but it's one that my family likes playing, my daughter, my wife, we all like playing it, and I enjoy it. So Cat Lady, AEG, a 3.5. Then we have Bullet. Bullet from Level 99 Games. This one has gone on and off my getting rid of shelf time and time again. I just don't play it that much. I play it very infrequently, and I feel that like solo mode mode, I won't play it because I prefer Under Falling Skies. And competitively, I really like it, but we don't play it that much, and so I keep putting it on my games to get rid of shelf. And then every time I do, I'm like, but I want to keep it, and so I don't get rid of it. And so it sticks around. And so Bullet from Level 99 Games, still a 4, still enjoy it. It hasn't crossed that line for me. I know it's well loved by many. It's a good game. A 4 is a good game still, don't get me wrong. But it's one that every time I try to get rid of it, I just have a hard time doing so. That's Bullet over here. And then finally, we have Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars, I did a Play This Not That between Terraforming Mars and Ares Expedition. I gave Terraforming Mars a 5, and that has held true. I play this game all the time. I played it twice yesterday. I played it like, this is a good game. I love Terraforming Mars. At some point, in some way, I'll do a dedicated review of this. I haven't actually yet done so, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. It was my favorite game of all time in, well, last year, and it's one that continues to hold up. I love playing Terraforming Mars. It is a 5 to 5. Nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is I have continued to slowly add and try expansions, and honestly, Prelude is the only expansion I feel is necessary so far. Colonies I enjoy but don't feel as necessary. Turmoil I like but adds too much time to the game, so I don't play with it. And I think Hellas and Elysium is nice for variety but not essential, and I still haven't played Venus Next. But overall, I love the game. My little nitpicks about expansions and stuff aside, I love the game. Terraforming Mars holds up. Which brings us to the only game that has actually changed. I warned you in the beginning, so you could have jumped straight here. Ares Expedition. Ares Expedition is one that I gave a 4 at the time, and this is not a rating clarification, this is a rating change. Ares Expedition, when I first played it, when I dove into it, definitely was a 4. It has grown on me, though, very largely. This is one of the larger shifts in, I don't know if it's a larger shift, I've had other shifts larger than this, but Ares Expedition has gone from a game that wasn't Terraforming Mars to a game that I continue to play, continue to adjust. I have some degree of house rules around how I play this, I've talked about in other videos, but also, even before, and this rating, by the way, to be clear, this changes before we talk about Crisis or anything like that. I just like Ares Expedition enough. I play it solo. It's become my go-to when I play Terraforming Mars solo. I'd rather play Ares Expedition. I just really enjoy the puzzle. It is a solid game, a lot of fun. Ares Expedition is bumped to a 4.5. It is still not Terraforming Mars. It just doesn't have the same degree of everything going on. But it's a solid substitute and a better solo game, and I don't really play multiplayer. I don't. I would be willing to, but I just haven't felt the need. Maybe at 2 players. I'd consider playing at 2 players, but it still doesn't replace Terraforming Mars, but that's the one that I would say has seen the biggest shift in my opinion as I've continued to dive into it. And that's your Where Are They Now? These are all the games that have clarifications and changes. At some point when we finally move into like not, I don't know exactly when I started doing 0.5s in my systems, but once we get to that point, we'll see that shift, and I will no longer have to do these clarifications. But in the meantime, they are what they are. It's just if a game is a 3, 4, or 5, then a game's a 3, 4, or 5. But if a game's have 3.5 and 4.5 in the mix, then I don't want to say was a 3 when really it would have been a 3.5. There is a difference to me, at least based on the way I rate them. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you found this video helpful, and as always, have a good one.